All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of our Aquarium's Online Academy. My name is Talia. I'm from our education department. And today we are going to be, I have a fish saying hello to me right now. But today we are going to be looking a little bit at some of our flippered friends today. So we're actually going to be looking at some different friends than our fish behind me. They have fins versus flippers. And I can get into a little bit of some of those specifics a little bit later on. But we're going to be looking at our flippered friends. But I kind of wanted to start us off in a habitat that's a little bit closer to home, since a lot of the friends that I am going to be talking about today live off of our coast, at least ones that we have here off of California. So, my friends, welcome. Now, during our program today, if you have any questions, if you're curious about anything, I am happy to answer questions. And you can ask us questions by texting us. If you are watching us live on, let's see, it is Monday morning at 9 o'clock from the hours of 9 o'clock to 9:30 Pacific Standard Time. You can text us right down there at that number, 562-286-1838, if you're curious about anything during our program. If you're watching this a little bit later, if you're like, oh, I wish I asked Miss Talia that question, you can still ask questions. We just ask that you email us instead, and then one of our educators will get back to you when they can. And that email address is down below, live@lbaop.org. So those are two ways to communicate with us, depending on when you are watching. So yeah, please feel free to ask questions if you're curious about anything during our program. So today, my friends, we are going to be talking about some flippered friends. So we're going to be focused on actually quite a few of our marine mammals today. We're going to be talking a little bit about seals and sea lions and some otters as well. So that's kind of my game plan for chatting today about some of our friends with flippers. But let's take a moment to think about what is the difference between a fin, like my fish have, and over there, where's my hand? There it is, boop, right over there. Some fins versus some flippers. And it kind of has to do with what's going on inside those structures. So fins don't really have any true bones or joints or cartilage in them. I got a fin flapping up here as well. They do have little tiny thin, we call them rays, little tiny kind of harder parts to them, which helps give them a little bit of structure, but they don't have true bones like we have in our hands. And that's what flippers have instead. So flippers have, excuse me, I'm going to adjust my mic just a little bit so it stops trying to fall off my face. Flippers have structures in them that look much more like the bones that we have in our hands. So they have some bones in there, they have joints, they have cartilage, they have much more of a solid structure inside them versus fins, which some of our fish have. So that's kind of who we're going to be talking about today, is some of our flippered friends. Now, a lot of our friends we're going to be talking about today are also mammals. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to just refresh what makes a mammal a mammal. What are some of those things that make mammals mammals? There's 5 different things. And if you know any of those 5, you're welcome to text them in again on that number below on your screen, 562-286-1838. I got a fish saying hello to me in the background. Let's see if we can think about what are some of the things that make a mammal a mammal. And are we mammals? Is this fish a mammal? He's saying hello to you this morning. So let's see. What are some things that make a mammal a mammal? Wait a minute. Ooh, what's this? What's this stuff I have on top of my head? Ooh, that's something that makes a mammal a mammal. Is mammals have fur or hair on their body. So we have fur, hair. We're not as fuzzy as some of my friends I'm going to be talking about today, but we have hair on our head, we have hair on our arms, we have hair on our eyebrows. So we have some hair, and that's one of the things that makes a mammal a mammal. All right, let's see. See if we can think of some other things that make a mammal a mammal. Ooh, wait a minute. Ooh, I just breathed through my nose and out through my mouth, and I was breathing air. And that's another thing that makes a mammal a mammal. Now, my friends, like my fish friends, they have gills. They have a different structure that allows them to still get oxygen, but they're getting oxygen from the water instead of from the air. And we have our lungs to help us get oxygen from the air. Oh my goodness. So mammals have hair. They breathe air. Another thing that makes a mammal is a couple things that happen around when they're babies. So I have a very important question for you. Do you have a hatch day? No? Are you sure? You don't have a hatch day? What's one thing that it's like a special day? It's all about you. You maybe have some friends and family over. Maybe you have some special treats. Maybe you have a cake. Maybe there's balloons. Maybe there's a piñata. Oh, what was? Oh, so we have birthdays every year, and that celebrates the day that we were born. So mammals don't come from eggs. They don't have hatch days. They have birthdays. They have live birth. So that's another thing that makes a mammal a mammal. And the other thing that has to do with mammals when they're babies is something that they drink or ingest when they are young. So mammals drink milk when they're babies. So I'm pretty sure when you were a little baby, if you want to think back, I know that might have been a long time ago for some of us. When we were babies and we were hungry, did our parents, did they go to the fridge? Did they get a big jar of bugs to feed us? No, they got some milk. And that's what baby mammals drink when they are little. They get milk from their moms. Now, the last thing that makes a mammal is that something to do on the inside of us. If you feel your forehead, should feel a little warm. Hopefully not too warm. Hopefully it's not cold, because then I have some questions. But it should feel a little warm. And the last thing that makes a mammal is that they are warm-blooded. Doesn't mean that the temperature of their blood is warm. It just means that their body is trying to stay the same temperature all the time. So we can see that kind of in action sometimes, depending on where we go kind of through our day. If we go somewhere really, really cold, maybe we don't have a jacket on. If you ran out today like I did without my jacket, I'm like, it's really, really cold. Your body might shiver, it might shake. And that's your body saying, hey, I am too cold and I would like to be a little bit warm. And your shivering is what's going to help warm your body up to the temperature that it wants to stay at. It kind of wants to stay the same temperature all the time. We see the same kind of thing if you go somewhere really, really hot. If we went out to the beach on a really, really sunny day, or if we were running around in the park, we might sweat. Your body might say, whew, I am too warm and I need to cool myself down and I'm going to sweat. And that's going to get my body back down to the temperature that makes me the most comfortable. So that's kind of what it means when they are warm-blooded. Things like lizards, reptiles, they are cold-blooded. Their body temperature shifts with their environment. So if they want to be warm, they got to go lie in the sun. If they want to be cooler, they got to go be in the shade. So they have to kind of change a little bit where they are depending on their body. But our body, warm-blooded bodies, like to stay the same temperature all the time. So those are some of the things that make a mammal a mammal. And that's some of the friends we're going to be talking about today that also happen to have some flippists today. So let's get started with some of our marine mammal friends we're going to be chatting about today. I'll have my friend Miss Olivia helping me out today. She's controlling all the magic behind me. She's also kind of keeping an eye on the chat, on the text line. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Ooh, and we have one of our first mammals hanging out behind me. I'm going to get out of the way so you can see them a little bit better. This is definitely one of the Flippered Friends I wanted to talk about today. And this is a sea lion. These are two sea lions to be specific. And they are kind of hanging out here. These are some of our friends we have here at the aquarium. So our sea lions are definitely one of our friends that have flippers. And one of the questions I get asked a lot, especially since we have seals and sea lions here at the aquarium, is how do I tell the difference between a sea lion and a seal? What are some ways that I can tell them apart? I definitely see one of them in this picture here. You guys see something? I see something right behind their eye, right there. this little kind of looks like a rolled little like taquito or something. They have a little thing sticking out of the side of their head, and that is their ear. So there's one there. There's one on the other side. And then my other friend here, his is right, boop, right there. So ears, looking for ears, is one of my favorite ways to figure out, am I looking at a seal or am I looking at a sea lion? And sea lions have ears on the outside just like we do. So they have little things sticking out of the side of their head. Seals, on the other hand, they just have kind of a hole or a slit on the side of their head. They look like they kind of have a bald head, kind of like a bowling ball head. That's a good way to tell the difference between a seal and a sea lion. Ah, here's one of our seals. So our seals, their ear is right there. So they have just a little hole on the side of their head. Their ears are, they still have ears, they can still hear. Their ears are just more on the inside versus the outside like our sea lions. Oh my goodness. Now, I noticed some other things that stand out to me. I noticed both of them have very long whiskers. They're called vibrissae if you want to get super fancy about it. And they're really stiff. If you have a cat at home, you might have noticed that their whiskers are very stiff as well. And that helps them feel around their environment and get a little bit more of a sense of kind of what's going on around them. Especially helps them if they're looking for some yummy snacks in the sand. Maybe they're looking for some clams today. It helps them kind of feel around in the sand to figure out kind of what's going on down below and help them catch some snacks. Now, I noticed something a little bit different about the way that my seal versus my sea lion, the way that they're kind of standing, the way that their posture is. I noticed that my seal here is very low to the ground. I wonder, Miss Olivia, do we have a picture of them that's a little bit more sort of like full body for both of them? Let's see if I'll send her on a scavenger. Ah, okay. So here's our seal again, really, really low to the ground. And that's because of the way that their bones and their flippers are kind of structured. So our seals have really, really stubby flippers in the front. And they have some longer flippers in the back. But their back bones are kind of fused. Ooh, let's see. They're kind of fused together in the back here. So they can't tuck them underneath like a sea lion can. They can't kind of walk really, really well on land. They are going to be on their bellies like we see some of our harbor seals doing here on the rocks. So they're going to be on their bellies, and that's actually going to be how they move as well. So they kind of move on their belly like an inchworm. They make this sort of kind of undulating motion. It's called galumping if you want to learn a fun word today. And that helps them move on the ground, kind of on their belly. They kind of scooch up and down. So that difference in flippers is also going to mean they're going to be swimming differently. So when they're swimming, they're not really getting a whole lot of power from their front flippers because they're kind of stubby. They're kind of little, like little chicken wings. They're going to get most of their power from their back flippers here. So they're actually going to kind of fan them out like this, and that's how they're going to get their motion through the water. Now, sea lions, maybe we can look at a kind of a full body picture of a sea lion. Sea lions are going to have, maybe one that we can see their flippers a little bit more. But it's a very, very handsome boy. I agree. There are their ears. And then if you're wondering what this bump is on top here, that is called a sagittal crest. They have some extra bone that actually kind of looks like a mohawk. Boys have it more pronounced. So they have kind of look like they have an egg or a bump on their head. So sea lions have really, really long flippers. So if our seals have little chicken wings, sea lions have really, really long flippers, and the front especially. And that's where they're getting most of their push when they go through the water. So they're going to push with their big front flippers. Ah, that looks a little bit better. Push with their big front flippers right down there. And that's going to help them get their power through the water. You can also notice that our sea lions are standing up a lot more. Our seals are kind of on their stomachs like that. Our sea lions are much more pushed up on their front flippers when they're up on land. And you can see with this one, that's their back flippers that are kind of tucked behind them there. So they can actually walk pretty well on land versus our seals are going to be scooching on their bellies. So that's a little bit about some of the differences between our seals and our sea lions. Ooh, here's another good picture. Do you notice any other differences between them? And again, if you have any questions, if you're curious about anything, you are welcome to text those questions in. Let's see. I noticed they both have whiskers. I love that our seal has really long eyebrows right up here as well. Oh my goodness. We talked about their ears, so there's the ear of the seal. Boop, that little hole. And there's the ear of the sea lion right there. What are some other differences that you notice? I noticed that their coloration is a little bit different, at least in terms of the types that we have here at the aquarium. So we have California sea lions on this side, right here. And then we have harbor seals, boop, boop, over there. And I noticed that our sea lions are kind of chocolatey brown all the way through. They're kind of one solid color for the most part. And I noticed that our harbor seal here, if I'm still thinking about ice cream, our harbor seal is a little bit more cookies and cream. So they're a little bit more of a spotted, sort of speckly appearance. So that's another way to kind of tell, at least in terms of who we have here at the aquarium. If we're looking at our seals or our sea lions. So ears is probably one of the best ways to tell. You can look at their flippers. You can look at their coloration. You can also look at how they're talking as well. So sea lions have a big bark. They have a big roar. That's kind of what they get their name from. They are like the lions of the sea. They are very noisy friends. And then our seals are very, 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 very quiet. They just have kind of a grunt or a hiss or a blowing a raspberry sound. So you guys probably can make a better sea lion noise than I can. I'm not very good at imitating a sea. Ooh, here's them saying, hello, good morning. They go, arr, 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 arr. I'm not a good sea lion. Ooh, I do want to point out, before it leaves my brain, I wanted to point out, do you notice the color of your teeth? This is actually a great picture. I don't think I've seen this picture before. Do you notice the color of their teeth? Are they pearly whites like ours? Oh my goodness. They have black teeth. Now, that doesn't mean that they haven't been doing a good job brushing their teeth. They have actually a good bacteria that grows on their teeth, and that's why their teeth look black. So it's okay that their teeth are black. They have some good bacteria that's growing on them to help keep their teeth healthy. So sea lions have a big bark. They have a big roar. They have a big booming voice. Our seals are very quiet. So again, kind of a grunt, a hiss, a blowing a raspberry sound. And they sound very, very quiet. So my impression of a seal is, are you ready? You gotta listen really closely. Pah. Thank you. All right, that's my impression of a seal. Very, very quiet. So they have a much quieter voice than our sea lion friends. So that's another good way to tell. Now, some other things I wanted to touch on briefly for our seals and our sea lions is that they have blubber. That is one of the things that is helping them keep warm in the sometimes cold water that they live in. So we imagine that one of the things that makes a mammal is they do have fur or hair. Theirs is kind of short. They don't look super fuzzy, especially when they're wet. You can kind of see a little bit here and a little bit there. They have some very, very short fur or hair that's on their body, but they also have a very thick layer of blubber to help them keep warm. And that's going to keep them nice and toasty. It's kind of like having a big comfy jacket on all the time. Now, that's in contrast to, ooh, hello. This is another beautiful, you can see all their little rolls here. Oh my goodness, they're so cute. That's in contrast to my last friend that I wanted to talk about today, which is a sea otter. And they have a much, much, much different way to help them keep warm, which you can probably tell by looking at this really adorable picture. So otters, they have a layer of fat, but it's not as thick as blubber. It's not as thick as the seals and the sea lions and the whales have. They instead are relying on this fur coat to help them keep warm. It is very, very thick. It is up to 1,000,000 hairs, 1,000,000 in a square inch. So if you make a little circle with your fingers and you put it on the otter, that little space on an otter could have 1,000,000 hairs in it. It is very, very thick. I think it's about like, I'm trying to think what the analogy is. I think it's like 7 times the amount of hair that you have on your own head. So it is very, very thick fur to help them keep nice and toasty warm in the water. Now, another thing I wanted to point out with our otters, because I remember we're talking about Flippered Friends today. Otters are really interesting in that regard. So if you look at their back flippers, that's their tail, by the way. They have a little tail, and they have a flipper here and a flipper there. And again, flippers just have sort of a bone structure in them, a little bit similar. It kind of almost looks like our hand on the inside in terms of what the bones look like. So you're like, okay, I can see that. Those are some flippers. But if you look at the front, does that look like a flipper? Ooh, does that look like a flipper? No, they have like paws in the front. So they're kind of land in the front and they're sea in the back. So they're a really interesting animal, I think, in terms of how their body plan kind of worked out. And I think that's because they went back to the water a little bit later than some of our other friends. So they're a little bit more kind of halvesies in terms of being a little bit more adapted to the water versus a little bit more adapted to the land there. Oh my goodness. They're so adorable. So yeah, paws in the front, flippers. I'm going to get good at my backwards pointing today, I promise. Flippers in the back. So they do have flippers. They have fur to help them keep warm. The other thing that's helping them keep warm is they're eating a lot of food. They are our biggest eater here at the aquarium, even though they are definitely on a smaller side in terms of our animals. So they eat a lot of fun. This one is enjoying some yummy, delicious clam. They eat 1/4 of their body weight every single day. So if I weighed about 100 pounds and I wanted to keep up with an otter, I would have to eat 100 hamburgers a day to keep up with an otter. So they eat a lot of food. And as they're eating all that food, their body's warming up. That's helping them keep nice and toasty warm, in addition to having a nice fur coat to help them keep warm. They also use tools to eat. So some of their favorite foods are things like clams. This one doesn't have a shell in it right now because we're kind of keeping it easy here at the aquarium. But when you go out in the ocean, things like clams, crabs, snails, they have hard shells around them. And our otter friend wants to get to this yummy meat that's on the inside. So they're going to use a tool to help them eat. While they're looking around, looking for their favorite snacks, they're also going to grab a favorite rock. And they're going to put it in their pocket. Now, they don't have pockets like we have on our jackets or our jeans. They have pockets in their armpits, which is kind of gross, but kind of awesome. They have some loose skin in there. They're going to stuff their snacks in there. They're going to stuff their favorite rock, and they're going to pinch it closed. If you've ever tried to like catch up seashells in your shirt when you're at the beach, kind of walking around like this, they can kind of do that too as well. So they're going to use that loose skin to hold all their snacks, go back up to the top, float on their back, like we were seeing earlier, and then they're going to use their tummy. I'm going to get my words in the correct order. Their tummy as a dining room table, and they're going to use that rock to crack open that hard shell and eat all the yummy meat inside. So they are very resourceful, using some tools to help them eat. They're also really smart about their food as well in terms of thinking about some of the adaptations that their food has. So another thing that sometimes they'll eat is a sea star. And if you've ever seen a sea star at the beach, at a tide pool, at an aquarium, you might remember that sea stars have very sticky feet on the underside of their body. Now, you probably don't want to just pick up a sea star because it's going to stick to you. And you're going to be like, I have this thing stick to me. Oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. Otter, my friends, they're smart cookies. And they've thought about this. And they're like, I'm going to make a sea star PB&J sandwich. And I'm going to get 2 sea stars. I'm going to stick all the sticky stuff in the middle. And then I'm going to munch on some sea stars. Or if they grab one, they can make a sea star taco. And they can fold it in half. Again, all the sticky stuff's going to be in the middle. And it's a lot easier for them to eat. So otters are definitely some smart cookies in terms of chomping on some food. This one is enjoying a nice crab snack as well. So again, they would probably use their favorite rock to crack open that shell. Now, another thing that is a cool adaptation for some of our flipper friends we've been talking about today, my friends, are their teeth. So otters actually have molars. They have very flat teeth in their back, and that's a little bit different than some of our sea lion friends. I'm going to take, I see some beside me here. I'm going to take a moment to get my document camera ready. We have a couple more minutes together, my friends. So if you have any questions, again, I am happy to answer any questions. If you are curious about anything, I am happy to answer them. So again, please feel free to use that text line down below on your screen, 562-286-1838. Welcome to text those questions in while we have a few more moments together. Okay, I have some skulls. Apologize, my mic is coming off here. I'm going to go fix that as I get my Explorer cam ready. Okay. Let's zoom out because these are big. All right. Whoa. Big skulls. All right. This is an otter friend. You may have guessed that. This is a sea lion friend. I am going to turn it. Ooh, that's going to be better. Ooh, okay. These come in 2 pieces. This is fun. All right. I'm going to juggle. So this is what. Get my hand out of the way. Whee! This is what the sea lion's teeth look like. Let me actually. I'm going to be smart. I'm going to do this one at a time. I can do this. Okay. There we go. I'm going to zoom in. This is what their teeth look like. It looks a little bit different than ours. And they're kind of all the same shape. I'm going to go focus on the bottom here. Go zoom out a little bit more. But yeah, they're kind of all the same shape. They're kind of this, almost look like little mushrooms, but they kind of have this cone kind of cap to them. But that means that our sea lions, they don't have flat teeth in the back like we do to help them chew their food. So they actually swallow their food whole. So they can take a whole fish, gulp, and swallow it down. Which is nice here at the aquarium. It makes it a lot easier to give them vitamins or medicine. We can just kind of pop it in a fish, and for the most part, they're going to swallow it down. Our otters, on the other hand, they are a different story. Let me go get this together. Okay. Otters, they have teeth that look a little bit more like ours. Let me see if I can zoom in a teeny tiny bit more. So they do have like canines. They have little pointy teeth in the front to help them grab and rip. But their teeth in the back are much more like ours. They have molars. So that means, my friends, that they... Whoop, get my sea lion out of the way there. Okay. They are going to be chewing their food just like we do. So that means we can't do the same thing for their vitamins. We actually have to give them a smoothie. We grind their vitamins up. We mix them with clam and squid. We squirt it in their mouth with a big plastic syringe. And that's how we get their vitamins. So sometimes they're smart cookies that can smell the vitamins. But we have to think of some different ways to get it to them. Because if we just try to hide it in a fish, like we do with our seals and our sea lions, they would find it. They'd be like, don't want that. So yeah, they are very, very smart cookies. Oh my goodness, my friends. I think we are just about out of time. We had some great fun talking about some of our flippered friends. So we talked a little bit about what makes a flipper versus a fin. We talked a little bit about what makes a mammal, since that's kind of who we ended up focusing on today. We talked about our seals and our sea lions, how to tell the difference between them with their ears and other things. And we also talked about our otter friends. So I hope you had some fun hanging out with me. Now I do ask if there's any classes watching today. Teachers, if you would like to text in your number of students, what viewership numbers are. So you're welcome to text in those numbers to 562-286-1838. But again, thank you guys very much for joining us. If you have any further questions, you're welcome to email us now. That email address is down below for some more Aquarium Online Academy. All right, my friends, take care.